I recorded a YouTube video on the experience that has to do with climbing a mountain. Now, I released that a few days earlier, so I will link it in the comments below. You don't need to go watch that first, but I will provide it in the comments below if you feel like after watching this video, if you haven't yet, that you want a little bit more from that other video. Now, after recording that video, I went and recorded a deeper conversation for our We Are the Forest membership group. This is a space where, as I put a few words to, a space to go deeper. In this space here on YouTube, it's my intention to share stories, have some conversation, and do some simple practices to help really embody these ideas. Our We Are the Forest membership space, that is a space where you can dive deeper. So we're going to continue with this theme that I just keep talking about because I don't know what's more important to talk about in this age where it just seems like the most important thing to me, it seems like we've outsourced it. So what I mean by that, what is the most important thing to me from my perspective? The ability, the freedom to make our own choices, to decide where we put our attention, where we put our energy, where we put our effort. Where is this going? And we have a lot of problems in our world today. We all know we have a lot of problems. And a lot of people are out there scrambling around to solve our big problems. There's a lot of people that also are just overwhelmed by it all. I think it's fair to say everyone is, right? But a lot of people are overwhelmed in a way. They're just frozen, stuck, maybe in a deep state of grief or depression. Like, there's too many problems. There's too big. We can't do anything about it that actually matters. I've been there. I've certainly been there. I'm actually writing about that space over on my new Substack, really moving from the space of despair, grief, depression into a space of this thing that I can't stop talking about. That's putting our energy, putting our attention, putting our efforts where it is needed most, where it best serves, our own selves, our own needs, our own desires, and where it best supports the collective. So we have a lot of problems. The climate is changing, forests keep burning down, places are flooding, natural disasters are regular occurrence. We have a lot of problems in violence and people dying at the hands of other humans. We have racism, this hatred that keeps suppressing groups, bringing harm to groups of people. Shall I continue? We have rates of anxiety, depression, mental illness that are higher than ever. We have rates of physical illness that are higher than ever. Problems keep piling up, and it is a lot. As someone who's been in this space of being frozen with grief and despair, and there's no hope, it's too much. We've dug ourselves in way too big of a hole. Moving into a space that is, I know I can't save the world. I know I can't do it all. But I know that if I show up and do what I am most called to do, and I know if you do that, and I know if that continues to ripple out, then we end up with a whole world of people who are showing up to solve the problems that matter and doing so in a way that isn't sacrificing to ourselves. So, what do I mean by that? This idea of sacrificing ourselves to solve a problem, because that's another experience that often happens, right? We have those states that I've been talking about where it's like, I give up. Nothing nothing is going to work. So I'm not going to do anything. Or, there's the state that is, I have to solve this problem. I know that this is causing harm, that this is so important for me to do. So I'm going to sacrifice my health, my joy, my light to put my head down, charge forward, work as hard as I can over here to solve this thing. Does that actually make the world a better place? From my experience, because I've gotten to spend a lot of time over in that pattern and probably will find myself there again. It doesn't, because not only do I bring upon harm to myself, not only do I extinguish my own light, I end up putting in work in a way that just doesn't work the way it needs to. So I climb mountains a lot. I want to bring this conversation back to the space I was in. The idea of the mountain metaphor, which in my life is so much more than a metaphor. The mountain as my greatest teacher. I've had amazing teachers in my life, other human beings who have passed wisdom on to me that have fundamentally changed who I am for the better. And, whose wisdom I get to bring here. Amazing teachers in the form of other human beings. Mountains, though. Mountains have and continue to be my greatest teachers. For years now, for whatever reason, I'm drawn to climbing mountains. For a time, I told myself not to. I told myself there were more important things to do. I told myself there were problems to be solved. There were career ladders to climb. There were all the important things that I told myself I needed to put my time and attention and effort. I kept myself away from the mountains. And as I did that, literally experienced myself dying a little bit over and over and over again. Every time I felt the call to go climb a mountain. And I said no, because there were other things that are supposed to be more important. Felt a little piece of me die. And that happens enough times, we end up finding ourselves in incredibly dark places. So now I climb mountains. Now I climb mountains as often as I can. Because when I'm out there, I can tell myself how silly the game is. I can tell myself how that goal doesn't matter. Getting to the top, it's just a silly game. But it's a space that proves to be my greatest space of fulfillment, of joy, and of learning. So in this last YouTube video I created, I talked about climbing a mountain this past weekend. And I also talked about how last year I'd gotten to a place where I had climbed so many mountains that season that I'd gotten in this habit. I'd gotten in this habit. Oftentimes, I'm struggling for words here because what I really want to get at is we take these ideas that are so ridiculously complicated and change over time. And then we try to put these simple constructs on top of them. The idea of climbing a mountain. And me talking about how climbing a mountain is the most important thing to me. But in that video, I shared about how that changed because at the end of last summer, I had then gotten in the habit. I'd gotten in the habit of climbing mountains because I'd come to believe that it was the most important thing in the world. So I kept doing it, only to find that it was no longer the most important thing I could be spending my time on. Moving forward to this past weekend, climbing a big mountain for the first time in many months, me being just lit up because once again, I'm climbing mountains and it feels like the most important thing I can be doing. So let's talk a little bit more about this construct, right? Whatever you want to call it, a metaphor, an analogy, a true embodied experience in life, which is my case, climbing a mountain. Now, of course, the mountain metaphor, whatever, stands for whatever it is in life that lights you up, that calls to you. A big, grand challenge, something that unnerves you a little bit, something that calls to you. It's like, I'm standing here. I need to be standing up there. Knowing that whatever the thing is, like, whatever. Maybe it's climbing a real mountain. Maybe it's writing a book, which is one of mine right now. Launching a business, getting a promotion. Whatever the thing is that's this big goal, kind of scary, kind of makes you think, I'm never going to get there. That is too far up there. There are too many obstacles. Then we get to start taking steps. Then we get to start taking steps. And this is the case on this most recent mountain adventure for me. I got to take steps in a way that was very open. There was no trail up this mountain that I climbed this past weekend. No trail. A lot of obstacles. Now, sometimes there are paths, sometimes there are clear paths, but we're still going to get hit with obstacles. We're still going to question each step. See, so many fun things we get to play with the mountain metaphor. But where I want to bring us, where I want to bring us back to this question: where are you putting your attention? Where are you putting your energy? Where are you putting your effort? Are you putting this in places that are truly serving you best, that are truly serving the collective in the best way that you can? Or have you chosen a mountain to climb? Have you chosen some goal, some problem to solve because you were told it was important, because someone on the news scared you, and now you think you need to go work hard to do something? Did parents or some other family member, maybe a school, tell you that this is the most important mountain to be climbing? So you've been charging up it, putting your energy, your attention, your effort there. Just a moment to sit with that. As I mentioned, I filmed a video for We Are the Forest membership space where I guide you more fully through that sort of practice. I'm actually starting to build up a library over there of how we can be in this practice. Be in the practice that is questioning in a fully embodied way. Where is the best place to put my attention? Where is the best place to put my energy, my effort? And they're also an invitation to be in the practice as often as we can be. I'm going to give a little bit more to the direct experience that is climbing a mountain, because it's so fresh and lit up in me. I'm climbing up this mountain this weekend. No trail. Lots of thorny bushes, lots of steep cliffs, scree fields, falling over trees. So many obstacles. And the first step becomes, taking a step back, looking at the whole mountain. What's my line, right? Like, what direction do I think I'm going to take up this mountain? And what that really does, what it really did for me this day is really set the stage for the first steps. Looking at the big vision, where am I going to take my first steps? Looked at the mountain, looked at some ways to get up and thought, that looks good, but that's going to lead me to a cliff. And that's unacceptable. So I'm not going to go there. If I go that way, it doesn't look as great, but I think I can get a whole line to the top. Starting out, taking my first steps, getting some good cuts on my hand right away. Bringing up the first questioning. Should I be doing this? This is stupid. I'm already drawing blood. I can't see the route anymore. I think I can kind of keep heading through there, but I don't know. So you check in. Check in, because that's a valid place to be. Is this a stupid thing to be doing? Should I turn around? Should my time be spent elsewhere? Not the answer I got yesterday. I was in this. So I kept taking steps. Eventually, I found my way to this big scree field. Steep scree field. Lots of loose rock, just loose, steep rock. Taking each step up it. Every step, every few steps questioning. Has this gotten too steep? Is there any real danger here? Could I slide down this cliff? Could I loosen a rock and crush my foot? Am I still in this? Continuing to move onward and onward till I hit the ridgeline, which was awesome because at that point it opened up more options. Do I take the ridgeline straight up? Do I head over to the right? Because there was a nice grassy meadow. Oh, hell yeah, that brought more light and joy to the day. Continuing to make my way up this mountain, with each section bringing more options. Always having the option to quit, to turn around, to say, I don't want to do this anymore. Again, as we start to talk about the mountain metaphor, it starts to get a little cheesy because it's a metaphor that's used over and over and over again. Becomes a cliche in our world. But I'll tell you, get out, step foot on a real mountain, and the cliche quickly dissolves as life gets very real. I'm going to leave us there for today. I think we've thoroughly put words to the mountain metaphor for now. I'm sure more will come. I look forward to taking you on camera to some of these mountains as I start to explore more this summer. Just continue to weave as we continue to weave these stories, the things that are lighting me up, keep weaving them together with this question that is really, really, truly what matters most. Just bringing this full circle. I opened today talking about all these problems alive in our world, all these problems alive in ourselves. And sometimes I tell myself, why am I telling silly stories about climbing mountains when I could be putting on my engineer hat and giving us all clear paths to follow to directly solve these problems? Then I remember all the lessons that the mountains have taught me, be they physical, real mountains, be they the other grand challenges in my life. I'm bringing this to my own practice, right? This own practice. Where do I put my energy? Where do I put my attention? Do I do it wearing an engineer hat, directly solving problems? Do I do it wearing my yoga teacher hat, filming more yoga videos? Do I do it wearing my writer hat? Or do I get to just put on my trail running shoes and run away off into the forest? So many different places. And as I continue to bring in these practices that I get to teach you here, these practices that involve this habit that is checking in with ourselves, each step of the way, checking in. Is the best place to put my attention? Is this the best place to put my energy, my effort? So once again, there's sort of a part one video to this. I will link it below if you want more. If you want more conversation that cuts directly to the heart with guided practice, the best place for that is over in our We Are the Forest membership space. Yes, I will leave us there today, and whatever the next space is that we find ourselves in, I look forward to seeing you there.